guys, welcome to Piano Rogues. I'm BARDALAIR. Today we are presenting part 2 of the Twitch stream in which I read my original story, Here There Be Dragons. Enjoy. Journal entry 4. Today, I encountered someone who wasn't an employee. He was a wanderer, like me. He was rummaging through one of the shelves stocked with different kinds of kitchen drawer organizers. They didn't all make sense. Some of the organizers were your usual varieties of sizes and materials, bamboo, metal, or plastic mostly. Others were decidedly odd. Some were way too big or small to be useful, and others were made out of materials that kitchen drawer organizers should just not be made out of. Case in point, the man found one of these odd ones and triumphantly held it up. I saw that it was made of beef jerky. Indeed, he immediately began gnawing on it hungrily. Hi? I ventured shyly, after a minute or two of him not noticing me. Or I tried. How long had it been since I'd spoken? My voice was so rusty, it came out as a croak. And he was really absorbed in the meal he'd scavenged. I cleared my throat and tried again. Hello? The man jerked and looked up from his prize, startled. His hand reflexively reached for a bag he had next to him. It looked like it was bulging with a random assortment of stuff. Oh, hi there, he said, after the initial surprise had passed. He watched me for a moment. I watched him back. I noticed his hands seemed very rough and calloused. His knuckles were so red in places they seemed to shine, or gleam almost. There were a few reddish patches above his dark brows and on his cheekbones, too. What's your name? I ventured hesitantly. After a moment, he said, My name is... He puzzled for a moment. For some reason I can't remember. Alarm flitted across his face, like a cloud passing in front of the sun. But then it cleared, and he smiled at me a bit. I realized he was very handsome, and his brown eyes were kind. Oh well. I think it started with a K. What's your name? I smiled in return. It's... Oh. I can't remember mine either. I feel like it maybe started with an A? It was my turn to feel the sudden alarm I'd seen cross his face just moments before. But he shrugged and said, Then I'll call you A and you can call me K. All right. That seemed fine to me. I felt shy. He was the first person I'd seen in who knows how long. Have you eaten today? He asked. I shook my head. Why did that question sound familiar? He held the food out to me, making an offering gesture and sound, and smiling again. Gratefully, I nodded in thanks, and he broke off a sizable chunk of the beef jerky kitchen drawer organizer and handed it to me. I sat down next to him companionably, as we both gnawed away at it. It was the teriyaki kind. After we had eaten all we could, we sat for a minute in silence, staring up at the white, whitewashed ceiling. So, how long have you been here? He asked me. I don't know. A few days, maybe? A week or two? I looked at him, my eyes roaming his features. Yeah, there was something strange going on with his skin. It looked hard and shiny in little patches, and bright red. There was one patch that had some gold in it, too. He was still handsome, though, with a beard he'd somehow kept short and dark hair and eyes. I liked his eyes. What about you? I really don't know. I've lost all track. He sounded a lot less concerned about this than I imagined I'd feel at that point. I was scared enough as it was, not being sure if it was 5 days or 2 weeks I'd been wandering these rows of home goods and furniture. What did you do before you came here? I asked him. Maybe I worked in a place kind of like this. There were rows, stacks, boxes. He looked over at me. I realized I had maybe been staring and looked quickly away. I felt my cheeks get hot. I looked back at him to see him grinning. What did you do? Out there, I mean. I think I worked with kids somehow, but it seems so far away. Have you noticed you can remember things you like but not things you did outside? And I can remember the names of other things. I poked at my memories a bit more. I can remember that spoons are spoons and couches are couches, and I know what people are supposed to look like. But I can't remember my name. Hey, why can't we remember our names? He took my hand, and it seemed like the natural thing for him to do. His hand felt familiar, actually. I wondered if we had held hands before. I looked at my hand in his and then met his eyes and realized he'd been wondering the same thing. I don't know why our names are gone, but maybe it doesn't matter so much, he said. He gave my hand a squeeze. He didn't let go. After a while, he put an arm around me and I leaned against him. We sat together for a while longer. I think maybe we slept. But then, in some unspoken agreement, we both stood and brushed off our pants. Well, see you later, said Kay. I nodded, but I'd really been hoping he'd ask me to walk with him. I knew if we parted ways in this maze, we would probably really not see each other later. I watched him walk away and disappear around the corner at the end of the aisle with an ache in my chest, bewildering in its intensity. Journal Entry 5. Dear Journal, how long has it been? I passed a sign a while back that had an ancient-looking map of the world plastered over it. It completely covered whatever the sign was originally supposed to say. There was an X written on it with marker somewhere in the middle of one of the C's. Next to it, someone with a morbid sense of humor scrawled, "You are here." The original text of the map said, "Here there be dragons," right next to that. I am growing ever more concerned. But I am finding some really cool stuff as I wander. I am filling my bag with these treasures. My treasures. I found a gold clock that goes under a glass dome. It has little things that spin. I wrapped it in a lacy tablecloth I found in a different aisle. I found a little box shaped like a heart that is covered in pretty seashells. I found a wine-red, clear glass vase that is wide around the middle with a very narrow neck. Its shape reminds me of the petals of a rose if I look straight down at it from above. I found a bowl that is formed out of cutouts of goldish metal flowers. I also collect the random assortment of items I find which are made of edible things. I found a basket made of assorted fruit-flavored, chewy, pill-shaped candies. One of the vases I found had a cork in it. When I unplugged it, I found it was filled with something that tasted very familiar and made me feel like I had so much energy I could have flown. I found a large picture frame that was made of dozens of meat sausages still in their wrappers. It wouldn't have fit in my bag as it was, so I pulled them all apart and was able to stow them that way. They are the teriyaki kind. Wish me luck, guys. This one's really out of practice. Yep. What are those little black emojis? Are those cats? Are they ninja cats? Like I said, that one's out of practice. But it's appropriate to the next journal entry, which is journal entry 6. I found some flying light fixtures today. They were roosting in the highest shelves of one of the aisles that were stocked with all manner of mirrors. And I do mean all manner of mirrors. They were all shapes and sizes. They were the kind that stand on a counter so you can lean in and look closely at yourself. They were the kind intended for mounting on walls or the backs of doors. There were square ones, round ones, oval ones, rectangle ones. There were some that were three-dimensional shapes, cubes, pyramids, icosahedrons, spheres. There were handheld mirrors with long, elegant handles that nevertheless maintained a feel of crisply modern simplicity. I picked up a few of the mirrors that caught my eye. I took a smaller icosahedron-shaped mirror and one of the handheld type. With the roosting, fluttering, flickering light fixtures up above, and the mirrors occupying the shelves down below, nearer to me, it was a very bright aisle. It was enchanting, actually. But then, when I went past them, the lights took flight like a flock of squeaky birds. Some flew like helicopters with their fan blades whirring fast and loud. Others had sprouted actual wings and feathers of colorful plastic and brushed chrome metal. The ones that had long adjustable necks with lamps on the end almost reminded me of swans. Others that had multiple long necks put me more in mind of hydras. Here there be dragons indeed. And they were beautiful. Until they began swooping on me. I stuffed my newly chosen treasures into my bag and I ran. I took refuge in a section filled with a display of large, loudly snoring beds. I dove beneath one of them to hide, praying that the squeaking, flying lights wouldn't wake the beds up. Fluffy and comfy though they looked right then, I didn't really want to find out what the beds were like if they were woken too early from their naps. Thankfully, the beds snored right on through all the flapping and flickering and squawking going on above them. When the flock of lights finally moved on, I crept out from beneath the bed. I took a plush faux fur pink pillow. The bed snorted and sputtered loudly. I froze. But when it settled and didn't wake up, I crept away, cuddling yet another treasure. If you enjoyed part 2 of this story, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on part 3. Thank you for letting us steal your screens for a while. Stay rogue. There's an octopus on my head.